Hey guys, this is my review for Fairy Bloom Freesia. So in this game you play as a fairy who's trying to protect a forest from random people who want to steal the stone. And what you do in this game is there's basically two game modes, and one of them is you just defend against waves of units by hitting them and killing them, and you get mana points, which is basically the experience in this game. And then the other mode is that there's these random orbs that spawn, and if you stand in them you get healed. And you have to try and stop the enemies from destroying those orbs, otherwise you'll lose that match. There's not much to this game really, you just do the waves and then it'll go to intermission and you can buy, spend all your mana points to buy more skills and passive abilities and little optional upgrades that you can do, like bonus health and bonus attack damage. And then you'll probably also want to save when you're in your main menu because there's no auto save in this game, so you have to save every time. And the controls are super annoying. It's set up for an Xbox controller, but when you try to put in your own custom keys, you can't use every key on the keyboard. You can only use certain ones, like the letters on it. So you can't use stuff like spacebar to jump, you have to use a letter. Which is super annoying, especially since I've got pre-done buttons. So like the arrow buttons move your character by default, and you can't change that. But then if you press something like escape, it'll close the entire game. It doesn't go back to a menu or pause or anything like that. So you have to custom put in your own pause button. Escape will quit it, and then if you haven't saved it manually, you'll lose all your progress and you have to redo it all, which is super annoying. But otherwise, if you die in a match, you can just click continue and then it will just restart you at the beginning with all the experience you gained in the battle before you died. So there's not a whole lot of that. It's basically the save is just for if you quit the entire game. Otherwise, enemies wise, there's not that many. There's flying units, these little guys who sometimes shoot at you, and the taller guys who basically they stretch around and hit you. And then there'll be like this ginormous guy who can do a lot stronger attacks and has a lot more HP. And that's about it. And then pretty much for the entire game they just upgrade basically how much damage the enemy does and how strong they are. But it doesn't really matter that much because your character is constantly progressing as well because they level up all the time, so it pretty much stays the same difficulty throughout the entire game. They do the thing where you can only play on easy or normal difficulty at first, which is kind of annoying because the normal difficulty is quite easy anyway. Even the boss fights are quite easy. The boss fights is basically just one big monster versing you, and then sometimes they'll spawn littler monsters, but it doesn't really matter because the moment you kill the boss monster, all the little ones die anyway. The storyline to this game is quite good, I'd say. It's not like super in-depth, but it's got enough talking and good enough animations to keep it interesting. The ending could use some work because this game is quite short, so it does feel kind of rushed with the story. It takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to complete this entire game. So there's 25 days, which is basically each level is called a day that you can play, and then that's the entire main storyline. And then after that you can either play on a harder difficulty, or you can play what's called Guardian mode, which is basically just infinite battles, and then you upgrade your character from scratch again. Because you can't carry over your skills to the Guardian mode, you can only carry them over if you wanted to play on a harder difficulty in the campaign. So it's alright. I mean, Guardian mode gets really boring because it's the same maps, layouts, and units that you're sort of fighting, so it's not the most exciting thing to do. But otherwise, I mean, it was a good enough game for how long it lasted. If it had been any longer, I probably would have hated it. I like the animation, the graphics, they were pretty good. So I'd give this game a 6 out of 10 because it's not the best. It's not like super fun and you want to play it. It definitely needs a few fixes to control layouts and perhaps a few more tutorials because I think it was about my character was about level 10 and I'd been spending heaps of money on skills and stuff before I actually realized that you had to equip them because they never tell you that you actually have to equip powers. You had to actually go to the screen and enter the screen where the skills are, and then it will tell you that you need to do it, which I thought was incredibly stupid. But otherwise, I still found the game quite fun, and it's not hard or anything, so it's not like it's a major challenging game. But yeah, it's just my opinion of the game. If you agree with it or don't agree with it, make sure to comment below what you thought of the game. And I'm only going to give it a 6 out of 10. Okay guys, see ya.